We begin in Charlotte with the very latest on yesterday's house explosion that rocked the community's Ballantyne neighborhood and killed one person. Late this afternoon, officials announced an interior gas leak as the cause of the explosion.
Right, that was the big reveal from late this afternoon. A man and a woman were inside that home at the time. The man was pulled from the rubble. He was actually able to call 911. News.
And right now, Chopper 2 live over some sort of explosion inside a home in northwest suburban Streamwood. You can see some of the windows are blown out. This townhouse is on East Shagbark Lane. We're hearing at least one person is hurt. It's not clear how badly he was injured or what caused the explosion.
In Wisconsin, fires are still burning from a massive gas line explosion. It leveled several buildings on Main Street there. Fire and police responded to a gas leak earlier and were working on it when a building exploded. 2 firefighters and a police officer were taken to the hospital. 5 blocks of downtown had to be evacuated, including a nursing home. A member of the sheriff's department says there are no fatalities to report at this point.
Brian, thank you. A man is hurt after the house exploded. It happened around noontime today in Lansdowne. 911 callers said they could smell gas, and then they heard the blow. Firefighters arrived. They found a heavy fire right here at this townhome. Look at the damage. 4 people were home. How they got out safely is a miracle. We're told the man injured was working on the home when the fire started. He was taken to the hospital to be treated for his injuries.
Late breaking right now, we have just learned from Jeffersonville police that they are on the scene of what is now a deadly house explosion.
Now, this happened around 4:30 this morning in the Capitol Hills area, and our Denny Camper joins us now live from the scene on Assembly Road. Denny, what are you hearing from police? We know you've spoken to them.
Well, Ann, as you just said, we have just confirmed that at least one person was killed in this home explosion early this morning. I'm going to take a step out so you can see from here. You can see back behind those trees there. The home that exploded is completely destroyed. There's absolutely nothing left of it. Now, Jeffersonville Fire said they received this call just before 5 o'clock this morning. And when they arrived 4 or 5 minutes later, the home was no longer on fire.
When I heard it, I knew it was an explosion. The next thing you know, I just felt this aftershock, and boom, I heard a boom. Sounded like it was right in my backyard. And just kind of startled me, man. I got up and went outside because I thought it was something happening outside my house.
That explosion sent debris flying into Highway 14 around 12:30 Thursday morning, leaving a massive scene behind.
Too much for today, but maybe tomorrow. it won't seem so bad.
Ruth Stewart watched as crews tore down the walls of a restaurant she visited every week. The owner of the KFC didn't want to go on camera, but says he'll be taking care of employees.
Good afternoon. Crews are still on the scene of a fiery home explosion in Roswell that killed one woman. Early findings show there was some kind of gas leak. News 13's Elena Mendoza has the story.
Our hearts go out to the family of the victim.
Investigators are still on the scene of a deadly home explosion on Atkinson Avenue just northeast of Roswell.
It's pretty evident that there was an explosion.
The Roswell
windows blown out, debris strewn across the street. These pictures show extensive damage after a gas explosion at a shopping mall in the South Florida city of Plantation.
At approximately 11:28 this morning, we received a call for a possible gas explosion at or near the LA Fitness, 1025 South University Drive. Initial report.
Now to the investigation into a massive house explosion in North Carolina. Rescue efforts going late into the night to try to find survivors. One man was rescued from the rubble after calling for help on his cell phone. ABC's Steve Osunsami is there in North Carolina with more on this. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, Cecilia. We're standing at the home directly across the street from where this explosion happened. And the family who lives here says it sounded like an earthquake. Then they looked outside their window and saw this. The house across the street was gone.
Ladder 32 is on scene. I'm looking at a rubble pile. Fire in the center.
This was a large home in an expensive country club neighborhood worth a reported $1.2 million. The 6,300 square foot home was blown to bits in the blast.
And as you can see, all that's left is debris, a huge spread of it. The deadly explosion happened early Sunday morning.
Get my phone, Evan.
What's the address of the emergency?
The house across from us just blew up.
Okay, the house blew up?
The house totally blew up.
Okay, what's the address? You heard an explosion, it's on fire?
There's smoke coming. I mean, it's to the ground.
Okay, you said it's down to the ground?
Yes, this is in Valentine Country Club.
Charlotte Fire, what's the address emergency?
The 13th hole, and it's across the hole. The house must have blown up. There's white stuff falling out of the sky.
First responders on the scene not telling us much right now, but what we do know is that email we got from emergency crews said there was an explosion of some sort at the Highway House Motel right here on Central, and that one person was injured in that explosion. We do have some of that video. Take a look. You can see the debris blown out of that building into the parking lot and the street.
And investigators are headed to the site of a massive natural gas explosion in Junction City, Kentucky. One person was killed and at least 5 others hurt. And as Meg Oliver tells us, it was seen and heard for miles.
It's getting bigger.
The gas explosion sent a thunderous fireball 300 feet in the air.
It felt like you're standing next to a blowtorch.
53-year-old Jody Coulter lived less than 200 yards from the blast. She suffered burns on both arms as she ran from her burning house.
We opened the back door, but it was like a tornado of fire just going around and around, and he said, "We're trapped."
The explosion killed one person and leveled several homes. As you can see, there is nothing but blackened earth behind me. And 12 hours later, it's still smoking.
It took emergency officials several hours to get the fire under control.
Columbia Gas is taking responsibility for yesterday's house explosion in Washington County. The gas company says crews were doing some upgrades to homes in North Franklin Township, but didn't realize the home that exploded was connected to the main they were working on.
They say too much pressure built up there, causing a leak and then that explosion. John Shumway is live with what the company says it's doing to keep this all from happening again. John.
Yeah, when you look at the remains of Debbie Braden's home behind us, and then you realize all of that destruction literally happened in a couple of seconds. And then consider the power of the blast. The front door from that home is up here in the backyard underneath that tree. We know the extent of the devastation, and now we know why. The devastation of Debbie Braden's home is complete.
I cannot believe that there was a house really standing there previously.
Fire Chief David Bain and Captain Chris Engel arrived at the home just after 3:40 yesterday afternoon when Braden had smelled gas and called 911.
When I walked over near the house, probably 10 feet from the garage door, a very strong smell of natural gas.
They quickly shut off the gas at the meter and started leading Braden away from the home.
My captain and I were walking.
5 people are injured in the aftermath of the blast, including 3 firefighters. People who live there in North Franklin Township say it sounded like a bomb going off.
A lot of people confused about exactly what happened. Some people thought it was an earthquake. Some people thought it was a car crash. The good news tonight, we have learned that the woman who lives in that home was able to get outside. In fact, she was outside of the home with several firefighters when that home exploded. Rachel Monjovi has been at the scene, and she joins us live now with the very latest. Rachel.
Marietta, a powerful explosion destroyed a home, killed one person. Let's listen in.
To support us, as well as our partners from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Today has been a very interesting day, and thank you all for being here.
We're getting our first look in real time at the explosion of a home in Marietta as it happened. That enormous blast was captured on a neighbor's Ring doorbell camera. Investigators say a construction crew working on the home hit a natural gas line, causing a leak. A crew from the gas company was trying to shut off the gas.
So what took they were in the process of stopping it when there was an explosion?
Yeah, the firefighters actually came on scene, stopped the leak, and were in front of the house with the homeowner. Waiting for the engine to come up to ventilate the house when the house exploded.
And from what I understand from these situations, gas will seek the lowest spot. So you think maybe it gathered in the basement or something like that?
No, this is actually methane. Methane's lighter than air, so it rose. But anything could have been the cause. It could have been anything from a refrigerator kicking on to a static electric spark. I mean, there's any number of things could have triggered it.
And I know it's early, but what's the latest damage assessment?
Gas line explosion killing at least one person overnight. This is in Lincoln County, Kentucky, south of Lexington. 5 people injured and several said to be still missing in that area.
Flames at the ExxonMobil plant in Baytown, now mounting legal troubles from Harris County to the fire marshal's office. Lawsuits have popped up today, forcing the company to preserve documents.
The problem? The chemicals, benzene, carbon monoxide, propylene, and others released into the air.
The county claiming it's in violation of the Texas Clean Air Act. However, air monitors never detected toxic levels.
We have team coverage tonight on the very latest from Baytown and accountability when it comes to chemical plants in Texas. Let's start now with David Gonzalez.
This is the second time this year that the county has sued ExxonMobil, the first time involved in an explosion in the refinery side of this complex back in March.
And here tonight, the massive natural gas pipeline explosion overnight, creating that fireball in Lincoln County of central Kentucky. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. Residents running from their homes, trying to escape the flames after being rousted by that blast. It happened just after 1 this morning in a rural Houstonville, Kentucky neighborhood, which is off Route 127. And this is what the area looked like before the blast. And take a look. Now only a crater is left with
a family's life is tonight in a million pieces, an explosion wiping their home off the face of the earth. The Christchurch blast was so powerful, many thought it was an earthquake. Dozens of people fleeing the neighbourhood in fear.
A family home reduced to matchsticks, obliterated in a flash with 5 people inside. Roof tiles became projectiles. The deafening blast heard 10 kilometres away. Some thought they were being bombed. Others had a shocking feeling of deja vu.
I thought it was an earthquake, massive earthquake. And next minute I looked up and I could see all this stuff going up in the air. So I came out, so it was all up in the air, like it was huge.
Bricks, rubble and twisted metal landing more than 100 metres away.